Oh, Miss Retha wants to talk to y'all, I think, right?
That was the Vista Street Blues Project. What do you think about that? Kevin Merrill on guitar. Michael Galeona on drums. Paul Kennedy on bass. Mr. Bobby Hurricane Spencer on and our musical director, George Van Wagner, as the percussion. Mr. Pat Galbraith. Okay, we're going to. Can you all hear me in the back of the room? Okay, we're going to bring up the Vista Street Jazz Workshop now. If I can have the Jazz Workshop come to the stage. No, Pat, you can't put his saxophone away yet.
No, okay, all right.
He gets to play one more time.
No one gave me a list.
I should have. Okay. Before the jazz. You're in this band?
Yeah, you have to talk to somebody who knows what's going on. That's true.
Okay. Well, welcome to this Wang Dang Doodle. This is the second Wang Dang Doodle we have had here. The first Wang Dang Doodle was 8 years ago, and I was wearing the same jacket, the one that I got married in.
Oh my God.
And Bobby got married too. But he was wearing a white jacket that time, now he's wearing purple. So, if you don't know what a Wang Dang Doodle is, then you must not be a Coco Taylor fan. You know, she sang the heck out of that song. That's one of my favorites.
Did you tell Automatic Slim?
I don't know. So, we are big Coco Taylor fans because Coco chose a song that Bobby wrote, Fish in Dirty Water, and recorded it on her Grammy-nominated album, Force of Nature. And guess who was on guitar? Buddy Guy. So we're big Coco fans. So that first Wang Dang Doodle right here at Barbara Morrison Performing Arts Center. Barbara Morrison herself provided the fried chicken. That was our wedding reception. And this is a very special place to us. Actually, the first time that I remember meeting Bobby, it was right here on the stage. And it was during the break. It was the Bernie Pearl Blues night on Monday nights. And during the break, at the back of the room, there were cookies and coffee. And I met this man, and I said, "Oh, are you a musician? What instrument do you play?" And he said, "Well, yes, I'm a musician," and that was me playing saxophone up there. So we didn't get off to a real auspicious start. But a lot of good things have happened to us on this stage. 10 years ago, in 2013, Linda Morgan then, Linda Sam now, selected Bobby as one of the first blues artists to cross over into the Jazzabration Living Legend Foundation. And I'm pretty sure Barbara was the first, although when I looked it up, she was listed as jazz, not as blues. But Bobby helped bring the blues into the Jazzabration Living Legends, and he was inducted that night alongside Les McCann, so that felt pretty good too. Yeah. And then from this stage, Barbara invited Bobby, selected him to go to Bern, Switzerland with her to the International Jazz Festival. She said that they told her she had to play some blues, and she thought Bobby would be the right person to bring her boo crew some blues. So we've had a lot of good things happen, and in fact, the best thing that happened, or maybe at least it was a fabulous thing, I guess Michael has stepped down now, but last December, Michael said, "Hey, Retha, you know, now that Bobby has actually come back on stage in December, he was down at San Pedro. Some of you were there for that. It was a sold-out event. It was terrifying for him, by the way. But, you know, those guys said, you know what, we've been coming over here a long time. You need to get back on stage." So Michael said, why don't we bring some of the Vista Street players over, and every first Thursday of the month, we will open for the headliners. And Bobby thought about it and said, well, why not? So the Barbara Morrison Performing Arts Center has been very good for us, and we love it. So I think I'm going to go over a little bit of history here, because some of you may know and some of you may not know. Most of you know probably that in October of 2019, Bobby had a massive stroke. He was paralyzed on his entire left side, his leg, his arm, his hand, everything. And thankfully, he did not have any slur, he didn't have any facial tics, and it did not impact his brain. So we were happy about that. But he didn't feel so good about that. When he was in the hospital, I took his alto saxophone up to the hospital, and I laid it across his chest. This left arm at that time was just an orphan. It's just hanging there. In fact, they put it in a sling because he liked to leave it behind him. So they put it in a sling so he would carry it along. But I took his hand and I pressed it into the keys. And I said, Bobby, if we press down these two keys, what note will that be? If we press down these two keys, what note will that be? I wanted to remind Bobby, you are a musician and this is not going away. But you know what? He didn't believe me. He didn't think he would ever play again. And it was doubtful. It was doubtful. And you may not know, the left hand for a saxophone player is very important, isn't it, Pat? It's up here in the top part of the horn. This is what drives the melody. It's pretty hard to perform without a left hand. Right, Bobby?
Absolutely.
So that first day, when that left hand woke up, went up and scratched his nose, that was a hallelujah day. It gave us hope. It was incredible. So he went from the hospital over to Kingsley, and a lot of you came by. A lot. Pardon me, I just want to read this one little thing, because I'll forget a bunch of names, I know I will, but I do just want to mention that Pat Zakari, and I'm only mentioning the musicians. I'm sorry, Joan, you're not in the list. Okay, Pat Zakari, Leslie Baker, Andrea Balestra, Bernie Pearl, David Dodd Hale, Michael Gliona, Paul Kennedy, George Van Wagner, Albert, Ted Murdoch, Chris Elliott, Leroy Martinez, Tad, Dap, and Glenn Dahl, Jeff Dale, Eric Garcia, Rick Taub, Lester Lance, David Leach, Ed Mann, Nick Santangelo. All these people were coming by the hospital or Kingsley to encourage him, to remind him he was a musician. But guess what? He didn't want to get out of the bed. He was like, he just wanted to stay in the bed. So I approached two people, Paul Kennedy and George Van Wagner. And I said, when we get home, will you please come over to the house and see if you can encourage Bobby to get up and try to play his horn. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to mention that Pat Zakari was the first to come over, because you came on Christmas Eve, and that was wonderful. But they started coming by the house. At that time, it was on Tuesday evenings. And Tuesday afternoon, Bobby would say, can you call and cancel that? But they came. And you know what? not only did they come, but then they started recruiting other people. We had never met Mark Tabor back here on bass until George brought him over. And then Ed Mann, that we had known as a retired physical therapist, Ed back here on drums, he came by and brought a little drum. And then Michael brought a drum. And then here came Bobby's friend from Babe and Rookies, Kevin Merrill, on guitar. And so we established a core of 6 people, 6 musicians who kept coming. Twice a month we would have music at Vista Street. And they kind of divided themselves into a blues group and a jazz group. You know, they can all play it all, R&B, whatever. So they came, and I'll never forget that first time, Paul, you dragging that upright bass up the steps at Vista Street. I mean, this is the dedication of friends, and that's really what I want to talk about, is the power of music and the dedication of friends. So he was doing pretty good, and actually he was going to come out and play for a memorial for Terry DeRuin, but then the pandemic came along and stopped that. But that's not the only thing that came along. About a year after the stroke, the seizures came along. And the seizures were related to the stroke, but we didn't know that was coming. Apparently, we should have known, but we didn't. So the seizures came along, and this time we were not quite as lucky. This time, it did impact his brain. This time, it took away a lot of his ability to communicate to this left hand and to the right hand what he needed to do on the horn. His tone was gone. At the hospital, when it was time to take him home, the doctor said, "Don't take him home. Don't. You cannot handle this man at home." He could just barely walk at that time. Before the seizures, he was walking 10 times around the courtyard. After the seizures, maybe a couple of times he could do it. But by the time we were ready to leave the hospital, he wasn't walking at all. It was taking, and again, they said, "Don't take him home." But I wasn't going to leave him in a care facility. And I asked his son Gus to come. And Gus and I got him home, and we got Bobby to make a contract with us. Bobby contracted with us to do 1 hour every morning with physical therapy with Gus.
Retha made me do it.
And he contracted to do 15 minutes a day of music with me. But half of that 15 minutes was him whining and saying, "Are we through yet? Can we quit?" Because he didn't want to hear what he was going to play, and I couldn't blame him. We kidded around. He sounded like a first-year sax student without much promise. He was, we kind of apologized to the neighbors who used to beg us to have him play, and then they didn't. But guess what? These guys just kept on coming. George, Paul, Ed, all these guys kept coming. And some of you came to visit and you saw a zombie. He just kind of sat there while you were there. And then we finally found a doctor who took him off to send him the medication. And after the first day he was off that medication, he woke up singing. And he was a musician again. Now we had been, in this 15 minutes, we had been playing jazz standards, so we'd have long tones to play and try to develop his armature back. Then Tad came by. Tad came by, and we have a little keyboard there, and Tad started playing some blues. Now I had asked Bobby, "Bobby, play me some of your blues licks." I can't remember. That's all he'd say. But when Tad came by and he played some blues on the keyboard, I noticed Bobby was swaying, he was moving. He was feeling the music. Up till then, he was playing straight notes, very mechanical. But when Tad came by and brought the blues, I started right after that, I went on YouTube, I found a B-flat shuffle, and every day I started playing that. Bobby, come on, let's play to that. And he kept working, and these guys kept coming back. And it has not been a straight and easy path, but it's been a hallelujah path. It's been a miracle path. So I want to thank all of the Vista Street musicians for their work. You know, he may not be a hurricane anymore, but he is one hell of a mighty storm. And this man has done it. So, as I said, these guys said, you know, Bobby, we've been coming over all this time. We're going to get you back on stage, and that happened last December. So we're here today celebrating not only his birthday, but we're celebrating the power of music and the dedication of friends. Now, Bobby requested no gifts. I see a few of you broke the rules. But we would like to encourage you to donate to the Barbara Morrison, the California Jazz and Blues Museum. This is extremely important work. Tim, sitting back here, donating his time today to run sound for us. Tim, are you the executive director of the museum? What are you? Are you the executive director of the museum? He's the CEO of the museum. Okay, we have the CEO here. He's doing a wonderful job carrying on the legacy of Barbara. Barbara had a vision, and Tim is trying to keep that vision coming into reality. And I believe it has a new home, and it's going to be awesome. So please, if you want to drink wine, donate to the musician. If you wanted to give a gift to Bobby, donate to the museum. So with all that said, we're going to have the jazz workshop play a few songs, and then we're going to have a little bit of, I'm definitely going to do, well, Michael's standing here. We have a jam coming up, and this is your man, and here's the sign-up sheet. But see, Michael, if you want to get on this stage, this is the man. So we're going to have a little bit of barbecue and some pasta, and we're going to have some cake. But, one last thing. In the back of the room, there is a big card. I would like to ask all of you to sign it. That will be Bobby's memory of this event, besides remembering how wonderful you all were to come out and celebrate with him. So give yourselves a big hand. All right. Turn the tape, Bobby. And you know, I said this was like coming home here to the Barbara Morrison Performing Arts Center. I think they're going to show you.